first. I tease it first. I tease it first. Tease it first. Tease it first. Tease it first. Come on in. Come in the like button. Get my bed situated for sleep. Come in, hit the like button.
United States formally announces the end of the blockade, said the official. And Donald Trump has backed down and he has caved. Now also, a source.
Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Back this thing up. What am I? Okay, got ready?
Just posted moments ago. Based on the request of Pakistan and other countries, the tremendous military success that we've had during the campaign against the country of Iran, and additionally, the fact that great progress has been made toward a complete and final agreement with representatives of Iran, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom, the movement of ships through the Strait of Hormuz, will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed. Donald J. Trump, as one commentator noted. So he's ceasefiring, the unilateral ceasefire, he declared. Now, Jeremy Sachel at Dropsite News said, an Iranian official told me that Donald Trump's post just now is riddled with falsehoods, and his operation to liberate the Hormuz Strait failed completely. Quote, we will not participate in direct negotiations until the United States formally announces the end of the blockade, said the official. And Donald Trump has backed down and he has caved. Now also, a source very close to Iran's head of parliament, MB Ghalibaf, posted the following. CENTCOM has failed in presenting any type of operational initiative to open the Strait of Hormuz. An American destroyer has been attacked by unknown agents, and 3 destroyers are adrift. The Strait of Hormuz is completely closed, and no vessel passes through it. Trump's hasty operations have increased the risk of vessel passage and have effectively blocked the strait entirely. In terms of timing, the strait's closure for another 3 weeks will create the most unprecedented economic and political crisis in the world, especially within America. So MB Ghalibaf, Iran's parliament leader, put that out. Then Donald Trump announces surrender, and then MB Ghalibaf's source then says, or MB Ghalibaf's proxy says, Trump halts his plan to reopen the Strait of Hormuz after failing to confront Iran. So on state regime media, which called itself Fox, they had to grapple with this. Oh, we were just talking up Operation Project Freedom, and we were saying this was the greatest military endeavor in the history of the United States, and it was going to escort all of these ships. We had all these people saying that this was the greatest thing, and Trump was really in it this time, and he was not going to cave, and he was super serious this time. So watch what happened on Jesse Waters as Donald Trump admitted complete surrender. Let's play this clip.
Fox News alert. The president says, based on the request,
hit the like button. Let's go.
Pakistan and other countries, we have mutually agreed that while the blockade will remain in full force and effect, Project Freedom will be paused for a short period of time to see whether or not the agreement can be finalized and signed. We suspect the president is letting the Iranians save face.
Yeah.
The enemy just yesterday said they controlled the strait. That was obviously a lie. And watching the Americans escort ship after ship out of the Gulf and them not being able to do anything about that was going to be humiliating. Not only were they going to lose whatever military prestige they had left in the region, their negotiators weren't going to be able to fight for their position after they lost their last bargaining chip. The commander-in-chief must believe that the Iranians are serious about surrendering if he's going to pause Project Freedom for the sake of a deal. Because You could also continue Project Freedom during the negotiations. You know, you do want to get these foreign ships moving. The president must know what he's doing. And we're about to find out how insane in the brain the regime really is.
Now, Donald Trump admitted complete surrender. As you'll recall, we were reporting the following. A cargo ship had been attacked with missiles or drones in the Strait of Hormuz earlier today, likely by Iran. This is separate.
Did he say
from
missing?
the
Because I
South
saw
Korean ship
some
and the UAE
the
ship
gas
and the port
fill
of
up
Fuji.
plane was missing.
Likely by Iran. This is separate
Is
from
this?
the Donald Trump admitted complete surrender. As you'll recall, we were reporting the following. A cargo ship had been attacked with missiles or drones in the Strait of Hormuz earlier today, likely by Iran. This is separate from the South Korean ship and the UAE ship and the port of Fujairah, which
Yeah,
was
a
struck
gas- a
yesterday
fill-up
by Iran.
plane
Another
jet
ship was hit today. We know that Iran
was
was also
missing
firing directly
midair.
at the United States Navy destroyers. And Donald Trump said, if they dare do that, we're going to wipe Iran off the face of this earth.
Yeah, right.
Well, Iran did it as the Navy destroyers looked like they may be heading in. And then Donald Trump did nothing. He backed down yet again. I think part of all of this also has to do with the fact that Foreign Minister Araghchi of Iran is in China right now, meeting with Xi Jinping and meeting with his counterpart, the Foreign Minister of China. This was in advance of Donald Trump going to China because Trump's about to take his trip to China. I think that Trump was so worried that his trip to China was going to be called off because Trump really wants that video of him and Xi Jinping with all of the Chinese soldiers standing at attention. Trump wants that photo, and Xi Jinping knows that Trump will do anything. I think that has to do with this as well, because I think the timing of Araghchi with Xi Jinping and Donald Trump.
He's scared that they're going to arrest him.
Being in awe
He's scared that war crimes. Yeah. Yeah, he's scared to meet with them before to go on they turf. Yeah. Yeah. Just like they waiting for Bibi Netanyahu, certain countries. And again, Israel is not a country. It is not a country. China said, we are not going to even acknowledge them as a country anymore.
Xi Jinping, the
They
king, as
butts are
Donald
in
Trump calls
trouble.
him, and also being a Putin bootlicker. Also, we learned the following as well before Donald Trump made that announcement. A cruise missile launched from Bandar Abbas, Iran, toward the Persian Gulf. We see it. You can see the cruise missile. Explosions have been heard on Qeshm Island, Bandar Abbas, and Bushehr, per Iranian media. Then Iran announced, before Donald Trump made that announcement, Iran announces through their parliament, Iran has launched a new system regulating vessel passage through the Strait of Hormuz. According to state TV, ships must first notify Iranian authorities, then receive an electronic message outlining navigation rules. After accepting these terms, they are granted a transit permit. Permits will be issued by a newly established governing body. Now, while this was all taking place, J.D. Vance was giving a speech, and here's what happened during J.D. Vance's speech. It was so utterly humiliating. Here, play this clip.
When I see Iowa farmers who need to get that E15 to market, what is
If this is your skin,
what
then
is,
this is progesterone, which is way
what-
too big
what-
and unable
what-
to
what
enter.
is,
So even if hormone creams.
Man, that look like somebody I know. Ooh-wee. On YouTube. Child.
Zach, you're gonna have to help me out with her name here.
Uh-oh.
I lost my page here. Okay. All right.
Oh, wow.
Okay, there we go. Sarah Trone Garriott. There he is. I'm on the wrong page here.
Now, Barack Ravid, Donald Trump's chief outside propagandist,
What in the world?
over at Axios, he posts, U.S. flag, Iranian flag, ship emoji. Trump suspends Hormuz operation, claims progress on Iran deal. My report. This guy's like Trump's stenographer. What's Iran posting? Iran's posting photos of their fast boat saying, these boats control everything. Efficiency matters, not size. They're posting this photo or this cartoon AI image of Donald Trump in the bottom of the Persian Gulf. Latest press briefing from the depths of the Persian Gulf in ultimate misery. Let's check in with Professor Not Size. They're posting this photo
this
or
little
this
boat.
cartoon posting. Iran's posting photos of their fast boat saying, these boats control everything. Efficiency matters, not size. They're posting this photo or this cartoon AI image of Donald Trump in the bottom of the Persian Gulf. Latest press briefing from the depths of the Persian Gulf in ultimate misery. Let's check in with Professor Pape, who's been, I think, spot on Donald Trump's escalation trap and the escalatory ambiguity that Trump's created, which was clear that Donald Trump and the U.S. were never going to achieve their objectives and that Trump had no clue what he was doing. Here's what Professor Pape just posted. Trump just buried Project Freedom with the tax on UAE oil. It already failed on day one. Trump is desperately bouncing from one extreme to another. A doom spiral of strategic failure in the escalation trap. The first 60 days of the Iran war didn't go wrong. They followed a script, and that script is now forcing the U.S. into a far more dangerous phase. Hubris, overreach, denial, escalation. 60 days in, Iran's nuclear stockpile remains intact. U.S. allies refuse direct military participation. Oil repriced around Hormuz risk, $95 to $115 per barrel on the futures market. Those aren't mixed signals. They are markers of strategic failures. If the U.S. were succeeding, Professor Pape says, Iran would be negotiating on Washington's timeline. Allies would be committing forces. Markets would be stabilizing. None of this is happening. In How the Mighty Fall, Jim Collins shows how corporate success turns into collapse. Hubris, overreach, denial, desperate gambles. That same logic is now driving the Iran war. When great powers fail early, they don't stop. They escalate. Wars don't usually end when initial objectives fail. They enter a phase where leaders try to prevent that failure from becoming visible. That's where the war is now. And when I hear that, I also think about Putin invading Ukraine, the same hubris, the same psychoticness of Donald Trump. Now, just this morning, folks, just this morning, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, said Iran is embarrassed because we control the strait. They do not. Hegseth said this morning. Here, play this clip.
Another day. Another.
2 U.S. commercial ships, along with American destroyers, have already safely transited the strait, showing the lane is clear. We know the Iranians are embarrassed by this fact. They said they control the strait. They do not. So American ships led the way, commercial and military, shouldering the initial risk from the front, as Americans always do. And right now, hundreds more ships from nations around the world are lining up to transit.
And Rubio said this morning, the operation is over in Epic Fury. We're winning. Here, play this clip.
I think you're linking it. The operation is over. Epic Fury, as the president notified Congress, we're done with that stage of it. Okay, we're now on to this project of freedom. As far as a negotiation is concerned, I think the president's been clear that part of the negotiation process has to be not just the enrichment, but what happens to this material that's buried deep somewhere that they still have access to if they ever wanted to dig it out. That has to be addressed, and that's being addressed in the negotiation. I'm not going to go further on what progress has been made on that topic because I don't want to endanger the negotiations, but suffice it to say that the president and this entire team is aware of the centrality of that question, and that will have to be addressed one way or the other.
And Rubio said that the new goal is we'll take control of the Strait of Hormuz. Here, play this clip.
Actor that enables Iran's sanctions evasion is going to face secondary sanctions exposure and a loss of access to the U.S. financial system. As President Trump has said, and the facts clearly bear out, the United States of America holds all the cards. There is no scenario here in which if they decide to join a ladder of escalation, they wind up getting the last say. But our preference is for these straits to be opened to the way they're supposed to be opened, back to the way it was. Anyone can use it, no mines in the water, nobody paying tolls. That's what we have to get back to, and that's the goal here. Every day the conflict continues, however, our leverage on Iran will continue to increase, and their position will continue to weaken especially as the blockade really begins.
And folks, we've been seeing this every night in Iran, the people out there in Tehran Square just celebrating, having the time of their life apparently, as they've defeated the United States in war. They've brought down Donald Trump. Trump looks utterly humiliated and embarrassed. Perhaps the most pathetic excursion
As the blockade really begins.
And folks, we've been seeing this every night in Iran, the people out there in Tehran Square just celebrating, having the time of their life apparently, as they've defeated the United States in war. They've brought down Donald Trump. Trump looks utterly humiliated and embarrassed. Perhaps the most pathetic excursion, the most pathetic, catastrophic, and unlawful war, the most pathetic thing the United States has ever engaged in. One of it certainly up there. I've never thought that the U.S. would be viewed as such a loser, but that's what happens when you have a loser in the Oval Office. So disgusting. Hit subscribe, everybody. Let's get to 7 million. Thanks for watching. Want to stay plugged in? Become a subscriber.
Just flat out humiliated. Several people have lost their lives. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hold on. Hi, Gary. Okay, let me get to this one. Y'all, it was two. If y'all don't get the likes, double tap the face of your screen. If you're listening in on your computer, or hit the three dots at the top right.
A part of the news meeting. President is not okay. He seems off.
Mm-hmm.
I would say that he does seem off, and his behavior. I will confess. People will focus on these Twitter stories and some of these other examples. I've watched more than 650 of his rallies and his speeches, and I was paying very close attention to his Twitter habits and his social media habits in his first term compared to his second term. To your question, he's off. And here, it's not just in the way that he talks, how he engages with an audience, how he engages with the room. It's also in his habits. He's already posting more than twice the average that he did in his first term. And then you have these outlier examples. And I always think back to what happened in December, where he posted 160 times over the span of 5 hours one night. It wasn't,
You would take away your mom's Facebook account.
Yes.
And her phone after a certain time.
Without a doubt. And so there are these flare-ups. They're just happening more regularly now. You can have some people, and I think there is a part of the news media that acts in some ways just like the diehard MAGA people. They think he's always doing fourth-dimensional chess. And there is no strategy here, as we're seeing with Iran. This guy doesn't do strategy. He's tactical. He's gut, visceral reaction. His gut right now is kind of rotten. And he is existing in a landscape like Truth Social, which is way more weird and distorted than even Twitter was back when he was using it aggressively during his first term. So there is something off and different, and it doesn't have to be a question of his mental health, or it could just be his emotions, right? It doesn't have to be some big plot that he had a stroke or something. He could just be being really emotionally overwhelmed, and social media with all this AI is breaking his brain.
Now he also needs Wellbutrin. Okay, let's put a pin in that, because I want to know how it shapes your thinking that today the president decided to weigh in on just how difficult cognitive tests really are.
Please get the likes. Thank you, Samantha.
We're asked to take a cognitive test.
168 people, only 26 likes. That's a problem. I'm going to shut it down.
Nobody's going to get all 30 questions correct.
Double tap the face.
Oh my God.
Double tap.
They're pretty
hard. Hit those three dots at the top right.
But every time, so I've taken 3. No president, think of this, has ever taken 1. How do you think Biden would have done? I don't think, he might not have gotten that first question right.
Doing good tonight.
Anyway, and Obama would
How about
have done
you?
poorly.
Child, please keep up on
Why
my
is he taking 3?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah.
That is a good question.
You don't take them unless you need to.
And it's a great talking point, right, for him. He gets to go ahead and point to this example, and no one's ever taken it before. It's why would be the next question that people have, but he's sitting in a room full of people, and he gets to go out and tell this story. I'm the only one that's taken, and I keep getting a perfect score on this very basic test that's to decide if you have, basic level competency. And I think, and he's going to keep, and that's part of this, some of this, and I think we just can't ignore it. This guy has been behaving the same way since the 80s. Some of these things is muscle memory. It's like a twitch, and so this is what he does. It's marketing. I think that's a tie-in with a lot of the images he posts. It's not just that, you can have all kinds of Photoshop stuff. He likes the AI, and there's been some reporting on this a few months. Make him look vigorous and youthful, right? It makes him seem a little, it's just like what he looks like, but it's a little softer. It's like always being.
And so that's you can't AI that. I mean, that's the reality of it. But I want to go back to something you said because I think it strikes to this idea of a muscle memory. So you talk about Donald Trump's muscle memory. I want to talk about the muscle memory of our press corps that cover him. And you touched on it just a moment ago in your answer that there is this is the musings of a man who's losing and has lost a big step.
Yep.
From where he was just 6 years ago, folks. So that's number one.
And the Reuters polling, there's Reuters Ipsos polling that says exactly that the American people are saying exactly what you just said. I just want to underscore that.
No, and I'm glad you did because it's an important part of this because it really then shows up when you have others who that are not covering this aspect. Because I can damn well assert to you at this table tonight that if that man sitting in the White House was Joe Biden, and we saw what they did with Joe Biden, when Joe Biden, because of his physical difficulties with his knees or whatever, would stumble or walk slowly, they were damn near ready to put him in an old, a senior citizen facility. Let's put it that way, right? But this is not the case here. And you're looking at this, what do you see? What does it say to you that you've got this bifurcation of storylines about this president?
I think, to the point about the press corps, one thing that if they don't want to cover this stuff, in a serious way, okay, or ask these questions about his health, okay, fine. What I see them doing, though, is something really disturbing. Is that the amount of times that he says, I don't know, to very basic questions has shot through the roof. If you look at his last cabinet meeting, every question he was asked of substance, he immediately kicked to somebody else to answer that question. He has dramatically increased the number of times that he says, I don't know. So I don't care how vigorous he seems when he calls you and he's working the phones or you think it, even if you buy into this idea that it's strategy, why doesn't he know answers to very basic questions that the president should know answers to? Why is he saying that a lot more often than he says? Why is when he's asked about he posted just a few hours ago, he says he doesn't remember, which is part of the things that's happening. And that's the tell, is that they're also not following some of these bigger storylines. I remember all the reporting when Joe Biden changed his shoes. When he started wearing more comfortable shoes. Wow, can you believe that? He's wearing extra padding in his shoes. For somebody
and a heavy-duty pamper.
Because they're at least transparent about it. That this guy says, I don't know, more often than he's ever said, than is reasonably expected of a president, and no one's reporting on that.
Dillon's always gives you more ways to save, like low prices in every aisle. Plus, you can clip and save more with...
I need y'all to get the likes up.
Now, look, I want to talk to you about something that in my years in public life, I have rarely seen unfold quite like this. And I say that as someone who sat behind the desk in the Oval Office for 8 years, who dealt with crises that kept me up at night, And who knows what it means when a president puts his name on a letter to Congress.
And I pray that
On
you're
Friday,
getting
May the
something.
2nd, 2026, President Trump sent formal letters
Thank
to
you.
Speaker Johnson and Senator Grassley stating,
When you tap,
and I
do
quote,
you get a thumbs
the
up?
hostilities that began on February 28,
Does that come across your screen?
2026,
If not,
have
hit the 3
terminated.
dots at the top.
Now, that is not a tweet. That is not a rally line. That
What'd
is
he
a
say?
legal communication behind the desk in the Oval Office for 8 years, who dealt with crises that kept me up at night, and who knows what it means when a president puts his name on a letter to Congress. On Friday, May the 2nd, 2026, President Trump sent formal letters to Speaker Johnson and Senator Grassley stating, and I quote, the hostilities that began on February 28, 2026, have terminated. Now, that is not a tweet. That is not a rally line. That is a legal communication under the War Powers Act. It carries weight. It starts constitutional clocks. It tells the world that America's commander-in-chief has assessed the battlefield and concluded the fighting is done. 72 hours later, Iran fired cruise missiles at American warships. They launched 12 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, and 4 drones at the United Arab Emirates. America's commander-in-chief has assessed the battlefield and concluded the fighting is done. 72 hours later, Iran fired cruise missiles at American warships. They launched 12 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, and 4 drones at the United Arab Emirates. They hit the Fujairah oil industry zone. They attacked a South Korean cargo ship. And Admiral Brad Cooper, the head of Central Command, declined to say whether the ceasefire was still alive. Let me tell you something. When a president's word to Congress cannot survive a single weekend, we are not just looking at a military problem, we are looking at a credibility problem. And credibility, friends, is not a partisan issue. It is the currency of American power. And that letter to Congress, we'll come back to that in a moment, because it matters more than you think. Now, to understand what happened on May the 4th, you have to understand how we got here. And I want to walk you through this carefully because context is not a luxury in a crisis, it is a necessity. On the 28th of February 2026, the United States and Israel launched joint military strikes against Iran. Iran retaliated. They struck back at U.S. allies across the Persian Gulf. And then they did something that changed the strategic map. They seized effective control of the Strait of Hormuz, the narrow passage through which roughly 1/5 of the world's oil supply travels every single day. A ceasefire came on April the 8th. President Trump extended it indefinitely on April 21. But here is the thing I want you to understand. A ceasefire without a diplomatic framework is not peace. It is a pause. It is a ticking clock, not a resolution. I know this from experience. When we dealt with Kosovo, when we managed the Iraq no-fly zones, when we responded to the embassy bombings in 1998, we never confused the absence of shooting with the presence of a solution. Deterrence without diplomacy is like locking the front door, but leaving every window wide open. Iran never lifted its grip on Hormuz. Hundreds of ships sat stranded. Crews ran low on food and supplies. A dual blockade, ours on their, brought global shipping to a near standstill, and that is the powder keg into which Project Freedom was announced. And this is where things start to get complicated. Let me lay out the facts as clearly as I can, because in times like these, the facts have to come first. On Sunday, May 3rd, President Trump announced Project Freedom, a military operation to guide stranded commercial ships through the Strait of Hormuz. 15,000 service members, guided missile destroyers, over 100 aircraft. Iran immediately declared this a violation of the ceasefire. Monday morning, it began. Central Command confirmed 2 U.S.-flagged commercial vessels transited the strait under Navy escort. But Iran responded with force. They fired cruise missiles and drones at American warships. Admiral Brad Cooper confirmed all threats were defeated. U.S. attack helicopters sank 6 Iranian fast boats that were targeting civilian vessels. Then Iran turned on the UAE, 12 ballistic missiles, 3 cruise missiles, 4 drones, the first attack on a Gulf ally since the ceasefire began. Fire broke out at the Fujairah oil industry zone. 3 Indian nationals were injured. And ADNOC.
Okay, it was buffing. Y'all back? Are y'all buffing or is it straight? Give me a thumbs up if it's good.
An ADNOC tanker was targeted by drones.
Hey, Belinda.
A South Korean cargo ship was hit by what may have been an explosion or an external attack, still under investigation. Admiral Cooper declined to confirm whether the ceasefire still held. Bloomberg reported at least 13 ships diverted from the area after Iran expanded its maritime control zone. And an Iranian lawmaker declared the Strait of Hormuz, quote, will never return to its pre-war conditions. That is not bluster. That is a position hardening by the hour. Now, here is where I have to speak plainly, and I want to be fair. Let me start by giving credit where it is due. 2 ships got through the strait safely. The defensive military performance was strong. Our sailors and service members did their jobs with precision. That matters. But leadership is not measured only by what goes right in the moment. It is measured by the sequence of decisions that led to the moment. And that sequence concerns me deeply. President Trump told Congress hostilities had terminated, a formal legal finding, while the Strait of Hormuz remained under Iranian control. Hundreds of ships sat stranded, and Iran had made no diplomatic concessions. Then he announced Project Freedom without coordinating with the shipping industry. Jacob Larson of BIMCO, the Global Shipping Association, said the announcement left companies scrambling for details. France's President Macron publicly refused to participate, calling the operations framework unclear. That is an ally declining to stand with us not because they oppose the goal, but because the plan was not built to include them. And then there was the rhetoric. The president told Fox News that Iran would be blown off the face of the earth if they targeted our ships. Iran targeted our ships anyway. When you make a threat that enormous and your adversary calls your bluff within hours, you have not projected strength. You have narrowed your own options. When I dealt with Iraq in 1998, we built multilateral pressure. We went through the UN. We sequenced our actions. Leadership is not about the loudest threat, it is about the smartest sequence. And you must always leave your adversary a door to walk through. Now, I want to focus on something that goes beyond any one president and speaks to the health of our democratic system. And I say this not as a partisan, I say this as the former president who swore the same oath. The War Powers Act exists for a reason. When a president tells Congress that hostilities have terminated, that is a legal determination. It affects funding authorizations. It starts constitutional timelines. It signals to our allies, to our adversaries, and to our own military what the state of play is. President Trump's letter said, and I quote, "There has been no exchange of fire between the United States forces and Iran since April 7, 2026.
Hey, Joe.
That may have been technically accurate on the day it was written, but when cruise missiles are flying at American destroyers 72 hours later, the institutional communication between the executive and legislative branches has been fundamentally undermined. And here is something else that troubled me. Admiral Cooper, the head of Central Command, was asked directly whether the ceasefire was still intact. He said, quote, "I wouldn't go into details of whether the ceasefire is over or not." Now, that is a military commander declining to validate the political framing of his commander-in-chief. That kind of gap between the White House and the Pentagon is not healthy for any administration of any party. This is not about attacking one man. This is about protecting the architecture of trust between our branches of government. Because once that architecture cracks, it does not matter who is president. We all lose. We have got to remember something. When we talk about oil prices and shipping lanes and military operations, we are really talking about people, families, working folks trying to fill up their gas tanks and put food on the table. On the day of these strikes, Brent crude jumped above $111 a barrel. The national average gas price hit $4.46. S&P futures dipped, markets rattled, and Treasury Secretary Mnuchin went on television and said prices would come down in a matter of weeks or a month. Now, that is a political gamble with American families' budgets. I balanced the federal budget. I presided over the longest peacetime economic expansion in American history at the time, and I never did it by gambling on a military operation to fix an oil price. Economic confidence is built on predictability, credibility, and sound strategy, not on hoping a naval escort mission through a mined waterway goes smoothly. Here is my deeper concern. When a conflict starts to become about one leader's personal credibility, about whether his threats were called or his predictions came true, the country loses its ability to make wise, dispassionate decisions. National interest gets tangled up with political survival. I want to be clear. Iran's behavior is aggressive, illegal, and unacceptable. Their attacks on commercial shipping are piracy, but effective strategy requires both strength and wisdom. You need the iron fist, yes, but you also need the open hand. And right now, I see a lot of fist and very little hand. Now, let me tell you what I think happens from here. And I see three possible roads. The first road is escalation, a full reopening of hostilities. Iran has already struck the UAE for the first time since the ceasefire. Hezbollah's leader just rejected the Lebanese ceasefire. Iran's parliament has declared the strait will never go back to how it was. If we respond to every provocation with overwhelming force and no diplomacy, we risk a broader regional war that could draw in actors nobody wants at the table. Secretary Esper is briefing the Pentagon. CENTCOM is talking about a final blow. That language worries me. The second road is a frozen conflict. The strait stays contested. Oil prices stay high. The global economy adjusts painfully around a permanent choke point. Ships reroute. Insurance premiums skyrocket. And American consumers pay the price at the pump for months, maybe years. That is the worst kind of outcome. Not war, not peace, just slow economic bleeding. The third road is diplomatic resolution, and I believe it is still possible. But the window is narrowing every single day. Pakistan has been mediating. They just facilitated the transfer of 22 crew members.
I need y'all to get the likes up. Double tap the face of your phone. If you're on your computer, there's 3 dots at the top right corner. Tap that. It'll take you to where you can hit the like button. Get them up. Don't be a bot. It's 317 people in here right now. Tap the like button. It's free. Won't cost you nothing. And if you don't want to hit the like button, just leave. Go someplace else. Get out. I'm cool with that. I promise I am. Oh my, and I'm very low on juice.
gets tangled up with political survival. I want to be clear. Iran's behavior is aggressive, illegal, and unacceptable.
No, it's not. Stop
Their
lying.
attacks on commercial shipping are piracy. But effective strategy requires both strength and wisdom. You need the iron fist, yes, but you also need the open hand. And right now, I see a lot of fist and very little hand. Now, let me tell you what I think happens from here. And I see three possible roads. The first road is escalation, a full reopening of hostilities. Iran has already struck the UAE for the first time since the ceasefire. Hezbollah's leader just rejected the Lebanese ceasefire. Iran's parliament has declared the strait will never go back to how it was. If we respond to every provocation with overwhelming force and no diplomacy, we risk a broader regional war that could draw in actors nobody wants at the table. Secretary Esper is briefing the Pentagon. CENTCOM is talking about a final blow. That language worries me. The second road is a frozen conflict. The strait stays contested. Oil prices stay high. The global economy adjusts painfully around a permanent choke point. Ships reroute. Insurance premiums skyrocket. And American consumers pay the price at the pump for months, maybe years. That is the worst kind of outcome. Not war, not peace, just slow economic bleeding. The third road is diplomatic resolution, and I believe it is still possible. But the window is narrowing every single day. Pakistan has been mediating. They just facilitated the transfer of 22 crew members from a seized Iranian vessel. Iran submitted a 1-4-point proposal. These are thin threads, but they are real. They can be woven into something if leadership prioritizes results over rhetoric. That Iranian lawmaker who said the strait will never go back to how it was, that is not just bluster. That is a negotiating position that hardens every day we do not engage, and we need to engage now. Let me close with this. Whether you are a Democrat or Republican, whether you voted for this president or not, there is something we all have to agree on. America's word has to mean something. When a president tells Congress the war is over, and the world watches it resume in 72 hours, something is damaged. When a president threatens total destruction and the adversary attacks anyway, our deterrence is weakened. When an ally like France refuses to join an operation because the framework seems unclear, our coalition building capacity has eroded. These are not partisan observations. These are facts about American credibility on the world stage. But here is what I also believe, and I believe it with everything I have. America has corrected course before. We have come through moments of institutional stress, strategic miscalculation, and broken trust. The institutions are strained right now, but they are not broken. The solution is not more threats. It is not louder rhetoric. It is the hard, quiet, patient work of diplomacy, backed by military strength, backed by allied unity, backed by a president whose word to Congress and to the world can be trusted. That is how we won the Cold War. That is how we navigated every crisis I managed from the Oval Office. And that is how we will navigate this one. But we have got to start now. Not after the next missile, not after the next escalation, now. Because every day we delay, the positions harden, the options narrow, and the cost in treasure, in credibility, and God forbid in lives goes up. Thank you for listening. And God bless the United States of America.
Amen. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America. Oh, Lord, please. Let's get to Candace. I need y'all to get the likes up. I hate to stop in the middle of it, but you know I will.
All right, you guys. Episode 333.
Look at her face. this situated. Likes up, please.
I'm also hearing that Baron Coleman is number 33 on the Spotify chart. Sorry. All right, you guys, episode 333. I'm also hearing that Baron Coleman is number 33 on the Spotify chart. Sorry, Cash Patel. We're in charge now. We're throwing little gang symbols now. Anyway, we have to celebrate today. As promised, a major win. Speaking of the powers that be, a win for truth. That's what it is. Many people had wrongly assumed that the Blake Lively saga was just some Hollywood case. No, it was not just some Hollywood case. It was not just about celebrities and why do we care about celebrities? Ooh, it was much deeper than that. In many ways, it was a precursor to every theme that we have discussed since, from Brigitte to Charlie Kirk, because it was really about the system, right? The elites unabashedly targeting someone in broad daylight because, haha, they can. What are you going to do about it? We're in control. Daring the public to notice, actually. And we did notice. We've been doing a lot of noticing lately. We noticed them trying to conduct, in that case, what looked like a heist in broad daylight. Speaking of which, Israel, you probably would like to know this, they are going to be upping their spend on American propaganda to almost $1 billion this year. And you know what? It really is amazing how many ties there are to Israel and Charlie following his assassination and leading up to his assassination. But there's nothing to see, you guys, because Bibi Netanyahu already said it. Israel didn't do it. Remember?
The hardest time, Jesus
Welcome back
is here.
to Candace. All right, so just to vent this, because I do kind of operate this podcast like it is my personal diary, sometimes there is just unexpected synchronicity happening, and I feel like this morning that was the circumstance. I just woke up feeling like things were heavy, right? I have been telling you guys that I have been dreaming a lot, very vivid dreams I have had. First and foremost, the terrifying, overwhelming feeling I had in the week leading up to Charlie's death, which led me to pull my kids out of school because I sensed danger coming to a school. And then after, it just has not stopped. And I had this moment, I just woke up so tired today, where I just sort of stopped and I considered everything that has happened, and I was completely overwhelmed again with grief. You know, that was why I tweeted what I tweeted, at just considering what Charlie was facing and what he was going through. I went back through our old messages and I read the message again when he was going through the same thing in 2018, when the dreams would not stop for him, and he was telling me about this premonition that he was going to die, and he just knew it, like confidently asserted that he was going to die. I want to show you that message up here again. He writes, "Anyway, I am not sure if I will live to see the end of this revolution. I believe you are the peace that God meant me to meet that will finish the fight. Since the beginning of Turning Point USA, I knew in my gut that I might get wiped out at any time. I cannot explain it, but I dream about it all the time, like all the time. Anyway, that's depressing conversation for another time, right?" I said, that's so weird. Just probably more a fear manifestation than an actualization. And he wrote back, "I'm not really afraid of it, but I'm just telling you what I know to be true." It's that last part that I think sent me this morning. I'm not really afraid of it, to die, and he just knew it, like confidently asserted that he was going to die. I want to show you that message up here again. He writes, "Anyway, I am not sure if I will live to see the end of this revolution. I believe you are the peace that God meant me to meet that will finish the fight. Since the beginning of Turning Point USA, I knew in my gut that I might get wiped out at any time. I cannot explain it, but I dream about it all the time, like all the time. Anyway, that's depressing conversation for another time, right?" I said, that's so weird. Just probably more a fear manifestation than an actualization. And he wrote back, "I'm not really afraid of it, but I'm just telling you what I know to be true." It's that last part that I think sent me this morning. I'm not really afraid of it. I was just overwhelmed with the grief of imagining somebody who knew just deep in their soul their life purpose, but their life ending, something I don't think any of us want to know, right? Nobody craves to know how they're going to die, and if you did, you knew the date or you knew how. Wouldn't you try to avoid it? Wouldn't you try to do things differently if he knew he was going to die and it was related to Turning Point USA? Wouldn't you say, never mind, I actually think I'm going to go to college instead? And that's what really struck me hard. Charlie knew he was going to die, and he chose to just continue upon that path anyway. He didn't try to prevent it, and he wasn't afraid of it. He just repeatedly dreamed it, knew it was going to happen, and it did. I was overwhelmed. And I thought about the fact that those dreams must have increased toward the end, at least we do know. It certainly did the night before. He had a strong sense he was going to die, strong enough that he texted who he thought were his friends, who he thought were the security people meant to protect him. He texted Andrew Colbert, he texted Dan Flood, and he said, they are going to kill me. They want us to believe that he meant.
If you're a woman expert between the ages of 40 and 70 and you have a...
Can I get you to hit the like button? There's 3 dots at the top right corner. Tap it and hit the like button. Only 3 people have tapped it. And every device have the 3 dots. So somebody just took their light back. Get them up or get out. Okay, good.
Message that you know could benefit the world in a huge way.
A trans person. Okay. We'll see. Hopefully we'll be able to see in this lawsuit with Brian Harpole if he meant a trans person. Dreams must have increased toward the end, at least we do know. It certainly did the night before. He had a strong sense he was going to die, strong enough that he texted who he thought were his friends, who he thought were the security people meant to protect him. He texted Andrew Colbert, he texted Dan Flood, and he said, they are going to kill me. They want us to believe that he meant a trans person. Okay. We'll see. Hopefully we'll be able to see in this lawsuit with Brian Harpole if he meant a trans person. The point is that he knew he was going to die imminently. And Charlie didn't choose to lock himself in a basement. He didn't choose to go, I'm just not going to go out, I'm going to cancel my tour, and I'm just going to stay home with my kids. He still left home that morning and marched on. And that is something that makes me so sad because it is the same thing that I feel like is happening to me right now, where I sense this deep knowing that at the moment that Charlie died, like, I feel like I was just awakened to something that feels very providential, and that it has to happen, and that there is this peace. And you can't explain it. It's that there are things that are sometimes beyond our vocabulary, beyond our ability to make sense of to other people, but you feel it spiritually. I felt that way regarding the betrayal of it all, the instantaneous recognition that he had been betrayed, even though I had no facts and I had no idea who it was that betrayed him. I did know. I knew it instantly. And I sense also just like other people in this space who were just, I feel in an instant, sort of snapped into it as well and have given their entire lives to investigating this. Didn't know Charlie. Baron Coleman did not know Charlie. And that was related to the synchronicity that I felt this morning, because I normally catch his show. I did not catch his show last night. And as I was boo-hoo crying in the morning of just the weight of thinking what Charlie was going through in the end, I know what he was going through in the end. Baron Coleman had done a show and concluded something that I think we're all feeling. And I just wanted to share it with you guys. Take a listen to what he had to say.
We think about people like J.E. of the Files fame, We think about the prime minister of our greatest ally. Think about the president of the United States and what he's become. Think about Johnny Moore. Think about Andrew Colbert. Think about Glenn Beck. Think about all these people that this is like their life's mission is to support the greatest ally. And it raises an inevitable question of who is pulling the strings. Who is the one pulling the strings? Who is the marionette?
And Baron Coleman had done a show and concluded something that I think we're all feeling. And I just wanted to share it with you guys. Take a listen to what he had to say.
We think about people like J.E. of the Files fame. We think about the prime minister of our greatest ally. Think about the president of the United States and what he's become. Think about Johnny Moore. Think about Andrew Colbert. Think about Glenn Beck. Think about all these people that this is like their life's mission is to support the greatest ally. And it raises an inevitable question of who is pulling the strings. Who is the one pulling the strings? Who is the marionette? Who's the one? We like to think the prime minister of our greatest ally is pulling the strings here in the United States. I don't think so. Oh, is Johnny Moore and Andrew Colbert, are they pulling the strings of Erica and Tyler and Charlie? I don't think so. I want to say something dark here.
Mm-mm.
I don't think a human is pulling the strings.
Oh, you think it's the devil?
I think these people that are co-opting Christian language and the
Those
trappings
Zionists?
of the Christian faith in order to produce what I think is a decidedly anti-Christian message. I don't think they answer to a human.
My friend came over the other day, saw
You
this in
think
my
they're
kitchen
the
and was like, "What is
reptilians,
that?" I
aliens?
told her, "Just wait." I added some fruit.
I think they answer to something far darker. And Charlie, I don't think so. I want to say something dark here. I don't think a human is pulling the strings. I think these people that are co-opting Christian language and the trappings of the Christian faith in order to produce what I think is a decidedly anti-Christian message. I don't think they answer to a human. I think they answer to something far darker. I don't think they answer to anyone in flesh and blood. I don't think anybody in flesh and blood is capable of pulling this off. I think this is so dark.
The devil makes you do it?
Spiritual war.
Oh, yeah.
And Charlie was a physical casualty of that spiritual war. He recognized the spiritual nature of it and was trying to get out of it. He recognized the side he had been supporting was demonic and dark and evil, and he was trying to distance himself from it, and they killed him.
Oh, yeah, that's what I've been saying.
I believe that with all my heart.
He didn't know what he had gotten himself into. He made deals with the devil.
Twisted.
He accepted money, donations from the devil.
That's what we're fighting.
He thought he could say no.
When we're fighting for who killed Charlie Kirk, how, and why, I think that why is the darkest evil humanity can face. I think it's demonic. I think it's Satan himself. I really, genuinely, 100% believe that. That's the why. There could be some temporal explanation of why, some political why, but I think ultimately it is a satanic why. Charlie was turning his back on the Prince of Darkness.
Absolutely.
He was removed for it.
Absolutely.
He was killed.
Absolutely. He was turning his back on the Prince of Darkness. Absolutely. He told the devil no. He denied the devil. Yeah. He absolutely. I don't know. I've been saying this for a while now. He told the devil no. He refused the money. No, he refused the money first. Then he refused him in his face. No.
I really, genuinely, 100% believe that. That's the why. There could be some temporal explanation of why, some political why, but I think ultimately it is a satanic why. Charlie was turning his back on the Prince of Darkness, and he was removed for it. He was killed.
Absolutely. By his own people.
By supporters of the Prince of Darkness. By the
Absolutely. He thought it was political
I could
campaign.
not agree more with that assessment, and I just couldn't believe it. He said this last night, and I was feeling this way this morning. It just felt so heavy, and it is totally spiritual. We sense that it's metaphysical. You see Tucker talking about that, and they're making fun of him, where he's talking about what it is that is controlling Trump, and he's using words like spells, and I'm saying, nope, keep using those words. Keep talking about the occult, because this is right.
Darkness.
This is correct, and this is why when you look at these people, there is something about them that doesn't quite look human. And I know you guys know what I'm talking about. It's like you'll watch a video of someone and they're overtaken with this like cloud of darkness and evil. Like I wasn't joking yesterday when we showed that clip
Satan tempted
as an
Jesus
example,
too. Absolutely.
Ben Shapiro. At the end when he was talking about me, he sort of like twitched, and I was like, whoa, what was that at the end? Because we hadn't recognized it when we pulled it initially. And I was like, that's not normal. Like who are you worshiping? What are you worshiping? Is the question that you even have that within you. And so it's the most crucial thing, and I think if anything whipped me up after feeling this way this morning, it was the recognition that Charlie didn't walk away from it. He didn't walk away from the plank of knowing he was going to die, because he knew that it would contribute to something that was
He was
shape-shifting,
or whatever that mess is.
We are all sort of waking up to what's really motivating these people, what's really motivating and what they're fighting, what power they're fighting to hold on to. And so I wanted to introduce you guys to a little more research that we have done looking into the Department of Justice, and a piece of this that we hadn't discussed before. I know many people have, and I'm late to getting into this, but it is increasingly more relevant, especially when I present to you this remarkable timeline regarding the Charlie Kirk show and their deal with Salem Media, okay? So you should know that the Charlie Kirk show is hosted, it's like a Salem Media, pardon me. Actually, the fact that I said Salem Medium is quite interesting, but Salem Media. And I just kind of forgot some information that I knew about that deal because Charlie was so excited about it. His goal was to be Rush Limbaugh. He adored Rush Limbaugh. He listened to Rush Limbaugh on the way to school every day when he was young. He told me that. That's how he got into conservative politics. He thought he was the greatest to do it. And he wanted to be like Rush Limbaugh in terms of being able to host 3 hours of radio every day. That was his like personal dream. And he saw the Charlie Kirk show as a means to fulfill it, and it was remarkably successful. So some things that we should just sort of recap, okay? Obviously, Charlie was murdered on September 10th. 2 days later, literally 2 days later, on Friday, September 12th, Bibi Netanyahu joined Greta Van Susteren on her show to claim that he did not murder Charlie. That unbelievably odd, because nobody was asking, but that is what Bibi Netanyahu said. Take a listen.
Before I let you go, I want you to address one thing, and it's just the absurdity of it. Some of the internet rumors that somehow Israel is behind the Charlie Kirk murder, and I don't believe it for 1 second, but I want you to make a statement. It's so absurd.
That's insane. That's insane. Israel also changes the orbit of the moon. Israel pushes the sun. I mean, the whole thing it's not only insane. I think it's so absurd, so stupid, and so ridiculous. You can't believe that people are saying that.
Now, we had received a tip shortly thereafter, which we did not run because we didn't want to put a further spotlight on the individual, that Bibi Netanyahu's office actually requested Greta's team to ask that question. So that question came from them, and he wanted to be able to react to that question. Very odd.
Very.
Beyond this, 6 days later, on September 18th, as we told you, the Israeli Foreign Ministry of Affairs, via Havas Media, decided to contract Show Faith by Works, LLC. Remember, that's the company that's going to geofence your phone on behalf of Israel, and they're going to give you pro-Israel and anti-Palestinian messages, plus this weird October 7th experience in church parking lots. And to be sure, we are talking about a lot of churches that are going to be put under this syndicate, if you will. Here is the churches that are listed in their filing. It goes on and on. I actually, if you are evangelical, you might want to see if your church is on this list because it's filed with FARA. They are working as foreign agents. They are going to do this for Israel. Do you know?
Absolutely, y'all. I talked about this months ago.
October 7th
BB
experience in church
Netanyahu said that he was going to convert Christians into Zionists by way of what does he say? Mega churches.
It goes on and on. I actually, if you are evangelical, you might want to see if your church is on this list.
Arizona, all over. Colorado.
They are working as foreign agents. They are going to do
Colorado,
this for Israel.
Nevada.
Do you know that you're going to be geotagged?
Texas.
Okay.
Hold up.
Do you know that you're going to
Texas. Fort Worth. Ooh, Texas all over here. But a lot of stuff be happening with Texas. You hear Texas a lot. Let me go up, baby. If I call your city or state, ask me to slow it down.
This pro-Israeli propaganda.
Plain old. Oh my goodness. Hold on. Quite a bit of Texas. Let me get off this thing so I can.
They're being honest about it. I don't know if your church is being honest about it. You should go and have a look at that and see if you can find your church on there. Anyway, but that's not all that happened on the 18th.
Hold on, it wouldn't let me. Why would it not?
Which I should mention is a French company. LOL, French and Israel. They are going to do this for Israel. Do you know that you're going to be geotagged?
Why is it going fast? I'm not on it. Wait a minute. It just.
Okay, or do you know that you're going to be sent all of this pro-Israeli propaganda?
Why does it not? Why is it going real fast?
They're being honest about it. I don't know if your church is being honest about it. You should go and have a look.
Baby, when I tell you it's not letting me.
And see if you can find.
It is not allowing me to. High Point Church. Where is High Point? In Arlington. Yep. Highland Park. Yep. Hope Fellowship. Urban Bible Church. Ooh, I need to look at this list. Oh my.
Your church on there.
Let's go.
Filing. It goes on and on. I actually, if you are evangelical, you might want to see if your church is on this list because it's filed with FARA. They are working as foreign agents. They are going to do this for Israel. Do you know that you're going to be geotagged? Okay, or do you know that you're going to be sent all of this pro-Israeli propaganda? They're being honest about it. I don't know if your church is being honest about it. You should go and have a look at that and see if you can find your church on there. Anyway, but that's not all that happened on the 18th. Okay, Avast Media, which I should mention is a French company. LOL, French and Israel. But they also contracted on that same date, September 18th, Clock Tower X LLC.
Oh, it's a lot of churches.
Okay, Clock Tower X LLC. Don't worry, we're going to show you a map and a timeline later. So you will have the information to retain. Again, this is a company which was properly registered under FARA. For those of you, that's like if you're a foreign agent, you've got to register under FARA. Want to say, Israel doesn't typically do this. Okay, presidents who asked Israel agents to do this ended up dead. I'm referring to JFK. This is what he was fighting at the very end. He wanted what is today AIPAC to register as foreign agents. They did not want to register as foreign agents. He commanded them to register as foreign agents, and then they got really lucky because JFK ended up dead. And then LBJ assumed office and reversed course on every policy that JFK was pursuing against Israel. Anyway, back to Clock Tower X. Now, they are not tasked with geofencing or providing any October 7th, events, memorial events in parking lots. They're not going to be going to funerals and churches, but they are tasked with developing a strategic plan to combat anti-Semitism in the United States through the media. So in their filings, they say they're going to embark on a nationwide campaign effectively to propagandize on behalf of Israel, okay? It's above board. They're filing and saying they're doing this. We're getting this from them. And the company is going to be run by Brad Parscale. Now, I know Brad Parscale. He's Trump's former campaign manager. I actually met him for the first time with Charlie over lunch. Unforgettable meeting. He was quite arrogant, actually. I don't think he thought we were going to be anything. Thought kind of treated me and Charlie like we were scrubs early on. Certainly me, like I was a scrub. We had lunch at this private club in D.C. Anyway, fast forward, he's now running Clock Tower X. And on their FARA docs, their filing, they list Salem Radio Media Network as the platform which they are going to inject this Israel propagandist narrative into. Okay, here are the docs. FARA filing here. Now, I should mention that Brad Parscale in January became the chief strategy officer for Salem Media Network. So he's got Clock Tower X, where he's working on behalf of Israel, and now he is the chief strategy officer. He's injecting them into Salem Media Network. And it says right there, the integration of narrative messaging into Salem Media Network properties and aligned distribution channels. This is meant to be a targeted propagandist campaign targeting Gen Z audiences across platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, podcasts, and other relevant digital and broadcast outlets. And you're going to love Israel. That's what they're going to do. We are here to represent Israel, but we're doing it honestly, and we're telling you we're doing it.
You know they're going to see your age on the CV.
I know.
Graduated in 2002. They'll do the math.
I know.
So what's the plan?
To walk in there anyway.
You must be the new analyst.
Yes. First day.
6th floor. The team is quite dynamic. You're the new hire. 10 years in the industry, different company. Which tools do you use? Excel, PowerPoint, the usual. Right, welcome.
Henderson analysis. Full deck. Client ready by Friday. Mia, what's your approach to client analysis? I start with the data. Build the model, cross-reference.
How long does that take?
Lights up.
3 days for something.
I keep asking y'all to get the likes up. I'm going to shut it down.
Like I said, quite a switch up from what Israel thought. I wonder if there was a reason why they felt comfortable doing this all of a sudden. Talk about that in a little bit. Propagandist narrative into. Okay, here are the docs. FARA filing here. Now, I should mention that Brad Parscale in January became the chief strategy officer for Salem Media Network. So he's got Clock Tower X, where he's working on behalf of Israel, and now he is the chief strategy officer. He's injecting them into Salem Media Network. And it says right there, the integration of narrative messaging into Salem Media Network properties and aligned distribution channels. This is meant to be a targeted propagandist campaign targeting Gen Z audiences across platforms, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, podcasts, and other relevant digital and broadcast outlets. And you're going to love Israel. That's what they're going to do. We are here to represent Israel, but we're doing it honestly, and we're telling you we're doing it. Like I said, quite a switch up from what Israel thought. I wonder if there was a reason why they felt comfortable doing this all of a sudden. Talk about that in a little bit. I just want to really underscore here that it is entirely appropriate for us to now state that Salem Media is working as a foreign agent of Israel, okay? So if you're listening to Salem Podcast, Salem Radio, these documents, you should take a look at them. Like I said, find your church on Faith by Works, find your favorite podcaster that's with Salem, and see if they are criticizing Israel ever at all. No matter what Israel does, see if they seem to have a very fashioned viewpoint regarding Israel, because these documents show you that they have a financial relationship that is structured to benefit Israel. And I gotta say, I find that those filings after Charlie Kirk was assassinated to just be weird timing. Like, why did Israel's Foreign Ministry of Affairs suddenly feel this impulse to immediately register these companies? Both of these companies, by the way, working with Harmeet Dillon Law Group firm to get this done. Okay, why? Why the hurry? Why the rush? Wasn't Charlie a friend of Israel? Why is Bibi all upset about what must have been some tweets? I don't remember anybody 2 days later asserting, anybody with a big platform, that they killed Charlie Kirk. Where's that chatter coming from? Why is that registering to me as paranoia, like getting ahead of something? And like I said, why this race after Charlie was killed? Because on paper, Charlie was supposed to be this remarkable friend of Israel. We were suddenly getting told that instantly. I mean, for goodness sake, Donald Trump didn't even just post a picture of his dear friend who helped him get elected over 2 cycles, holding an American flag. He instead, when Charlie died, decided to tweet out a photo of Charlie hugging an Israel flag and an American flag. It was disgusting. But that's how fast they were with messaging. Hey, don't forget Charlie loved Israel. He just died 5 minutes ago. Here he is. I AI'd him hugging the flag of Israel. Well, if that was just true, it wouldn't require reminding. Americans would have been naturally drawn to support something that Charlie held dear to his heart, especially in the end. You don't need to narrative message for the truth. I just can't quite shake this feeling that actually Israel was planning to bury the truth regarding Charlie's shifting opinion as it pertains to their involvement with the United States. As it pertains to the nation state of Israel, his opinions were changing, and they wanted that to never get out. And I think that's what they were preparing for, right? Because the fact, and it is a fact, that Charlie changed his mind on Israel in the end, that was very clearly a secret that they were desperate to protect, okay? Desperate. This explains the early attacks on Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly did nothing. She was pro-Israel. When all this went down, she was pro-Israel. She never for a second thought Israel did it. Megyn Kelly was like, Tyler Robinson on a rooftop, this looks plausible to me. We don't know what else happened. We need the documents. Go back and check her record, okay? She was not talking any type of conspiracy. She was not partnered with Candace Owens. But you know what she did do? She told the truth about Charlie's shifting viewpoints on Israel. And that is what led to attacks on Megyn Kelly, I am convinced. Same for Tucker Carlson. He came out. I said it. And I had effectively 2 people that were willing to back me up. Of all the friends Charlie made, 2 people that were willing to back me up and say, yeah, no, I had long conversations with him. Charlie changed his mind on Israel. Other than that, it was Candace is crazy. Oh my God, no. But the reality is, according to Charlie, he was, quote, given no choice but to abandon the pro-Israel cause. Thank you, Jesus, that he decided to put that in writing. If that was something that Josh Hammer, before he knew that that message was going to get out, vociferously denied in the days that followed Charlie's death, instantly proclaiming it wasn't true. Charlie died just wondering what more he could do for Israel. He just had my book in his hand and was like, please teach me how to debate and explain to these stupid college kids that Israel's amazing and it's our friend and our ally, because I've never debated before. I've only been doing it for 10 years, but you, Josh Hammer, you're so brilliant. Help me explain to these kids how wonderful Israel is. That is, until I dropped the group text messages, which both Josh Hammer and an Israeli-based rabbi were a part of. They were privy to those messages. They lied. They lied explicitly, and it shocked the world, changed the narrative immediately. People said, why the lie? It's okay if he had a changing idea, but why? Why were you going to hit us with so much propaganda so quickly? Why is he hugging an Israeli flag? Did you guys know this? It couldn't have just been Candace. Why were you guys attacking Candace? What is up? Josh Hammer, you were on the message. How could you do that? You didn't even flinch. And speaking of Josh Hammer, on October 15th, it was announced that Josh Hammer, who quite literally no one listens to, he has no accomplishments. He's one of these people that just gets pulled through the ranks no matter what, okay? He can't fail. He's like Barry Weiss. No talents, nothing to contribute, has done nothing in his life, but somehow they just get handed stuff. No one listens to him. No one watches him. And somehow on October 15th, he's given a show on the Salem Podcast Network, the same network.
Okay, let me show you how they have Asian, Mexican, Italian, Caribbean. So this is a spicy drunken noodle by Chef Tong Heine, and it has shrimp and Thai basil in it. Ooh, that's gonna be good. And it also lets you know the protein, fat, and carbs and how many calories are in each one. We love that. We also got the black and shrimp with grits by Chef Chris Rattel. I'm so excited. And then we got the sliced ribeye with cabbage and shishito peppers by Chef Sergio Tominanga. I know this is gonna be so good.
My light's not up. The next time I'm going to end it. If y'all can't get the lights up, it's 330 people in here. Hit the like button.
Show. Now, when people
Hit the like button. It's 321 people in here. Hit the like button. Double tap the face of your phone. It's free. Won't cost you nothing. At the top right corner, there are 3 dots. If you touch those 3 dots, it'll take you to where you can see the thumbs up. Hit it. Hit it. Hey, boss lady, entertainment. How you doing? That's, oh, you still on? That's a lot of churches. Come on, y'all. I need about 20 likes. Then I'll start it back up. Double tap. Go bam, bam. Won't cost you a thing. Those 3 dots up there. Tap them. It'll take you to where you can hit the like button. I'ma hate to end it on y'all right when it get good. I'ma go bleep. And I'ma stop it. I promise you.
so quickly, why is he hugging an Israeli flag? Did you guys know this? It couldn't have just been Candace. Why were you guys attacking
I'm
Candace?
good.
What is up?
Thanks
Josh Hammer,
for
you were
asking.
on the message. How could you do that? You didn't even flinch.
Mm-hmm.
And speaking of Josh Hammer, on October 15th, it was announced that
Them
Josh
friends,
Hammer,
turn
who
on
quite
you.
literally
Everybody
no
ain't
one
your
listens
friend,
to. He has
everybody
no
ain't your
accomplishments. He's
body.
one of these people that just gets pulled through the ranks no matter what. Okay, he can't fail. He's like Barry Weiss, no talents, nothing to contribute, has done nothing in his life, but somehow they just get handed stuff. No one listens to him. No one watches him, and somehow on October 15th, he's given a show on the Salem Podcast Network, the same network that hosts the Charlie Kirk Show. Now, when people fail upward like that, you should always pay attention. You should always pay attention when the free press is a remarkable failure. We all have eyes, we can see their numbers, and then suddenly Barry Weiss gets she's hey, you can be the head honcho at CBS News. You go, what? And then she's doing these awkward interviews, and she's the camera hates her. Respectfully, the camera absolutely hates Barry Weiss, right? She is the opposite of the it factor, okay? Here she is. They're like, nope, here's Barry. Here's Barry. Same thing with Josh. Let's actually take a look, because I want you to understand how ridiculous it is. I actually saw Nick Fuentes ranting about this, and I should have pulled the clip where he was saying that in a free market society, some of us, we have to be good. Every single day we have to prepare our shows, and we have to be good, and people like me and Tucker Carlson will get knocked out of the free markets in seconds if we actually don't create good content. But then there are people like Barry and Ben Shapiro. They're just not ever going to fail, and that's Josh Hammer, and I want to show you his views right now on the Salem Media Network. This is real, okay? This is on Newsweek, his show. 399 views. That's 5 days ago. 386 views. 665 views. I'm reading from bottom to up. Don't ask me why. That doesn't make sense. But you can see this. 355 views. It looks like his average here. Okay. That's hard to do. You could do that accidentally. Actually, you could not do a show and accidentally people are just kind of hitting the wrong buttons on YouTube and they go, let's play for 10 seconds, and you'd have a view. You could probably get 355 people to do that. He's trying. He's got marketing behind him, and that's what he's getting on YouTube. And yet here he is. Who gave this man a show after Charlie Kirk died, and why? Because that just runs counter to financial sense. That runs counter to the free market. And then I recalled specifically that years ago, I remember learning that Salem was struggling financially. That they were not able to, they were looking for a buyer, looking for a deal, that the finances were not good at Salem Media. So I think even further, I go, if you're having financial trouble, acquiring people that have no talent and no following, despite trying their entire lives to be in front of the camera, doesn't make any sense.
I know many of you think I'm AI. I'm not AI, but this is AI. Maybe in the future I'll get to work less. I'm gonna try to create myself in my outfit today, but Pixar style. So I'll call it Helena Pixar and start describing my features and outfit. Ooh, I'm gonna go ahead with this one. And let's create character. And now it's done, let's see how it turned out. These are really aesthetic generations. The character is consistent and the outfit is correct. We can also use different types of references with the character, put that image in the composition reference, and we're gonna get all these cool shots with the composition just like the reference image. And I'm gonna make a composition reference by taking a selfie. I got it, let's try to use this image. Even better, we can make the character move on OpenArt. Create your first character for free as an OpenArt subscriber.
Survival food has meant one thing since 1975.
Seriously?
Cardboard taste and stomach aches. Food you know your grandkids are going to refuse to eat if you ever have to make it for them. Imagine how that's going to go. If the roads close in a storm or the shelves aren't restocked right away, you'll have to have food on hand. But if you're a veteran, you've had your fill of MREs. That's not survival. That's a morale killer. That's why we at 4 Patriots are on a mission to end this. Because in a crisis, food has to be comfort. It has to last a long time, have plenty of meals inside, and you have to like eating it. That's why we made the 4 Patriots 4-week survival food kit. It's not rations, it's real food. It's a variety of delicious home-style meals, like warm, creamy chicken and rice, rich, hearty stews, food your family will actually love. Simple to make, just boil, simmer, and serve. And they're designed to last 25 years without sacrificing taste or nutrition.
Guess not.
Because they were made using low heat dehydration and...
That's why I wasn't in no rush.
Doesn't make any financial sense unless it does make financial sense. What do I mean? Unless you, and I'm talking about Salem Media, were willing to do a deal, a legal deal. Nothing wrong here. It's registered with FARA. But whether you're going, I'm willing to do a deal with a foreign nation to allow them to just use our platform as their virtual mouthpiece, which is what Josh Hammer is. He's just a mouthpiece for Israel, right? And yeah, the timeline of that makes sense. But there is a little bit more that we should think about with Salem Media. As I said, they host the Charlie Kirk show. I remember Charlie telling me that this his deal was fantastic. He was going to be a part owner he was going to own his show, and he also told me, and maybe this was once upon a time, that his was the only truly profitable show at the network, or the most profitable show at the network, because the network was in trouble. They had the Charlie Kirk show. Charlie Kirk show was doing very well, and like I said, he owned a big piece of it. I remember when they started this, he had an assistant at the time. Her name was Sarah Schmachtenberg. She had a piece of it early on when the team was smaller, and I remember specifically that Andrew Colvett had a piece of this show. Andrew Colvett, Charlie told me specifically, owned a stake in the Charlie Kirk show. And actually, this is something that I should just add here, that everyone at Turning Point USA that I don't trust on the basis of lies that they have told the public, technically doesn't work for Turning Point USA, right? Blake Neff, Andrew Colvett, they are paid, at least in part, by the Charlie Kirk show. Blake Neff, I think, came out and said entirely by the Charlie Kirk show. And they even have their own separate building on the property at the Turning Point USA campus. Everyone in that building I don't trust. Terrell's in that building. Everybody in that building I do not trust. I think Erica Kirk took an office in that building before Charlie died. She would go there sometimes, if I remember correctly. Now I remember thinking that people who were involved with the show were promised a small piece of the show, and I am wondering now if that includes Blake Neff and Mikey as well. That information suddenly interests me. Were all of you involved and took a stake in the Charlie Kirk show? Because I want you to remember something I told you a while ago, and it wasn't clocking for me. No, it just wasn't registering for me. Andrew Colvett, according to a family source of his, so this was a source that came to me, told people in his family and his family orbit that when Charlie said no to Bibi Netanyahu in the Hamptons shortly before he died.
Real fermented pickles. It starts with fresh cucumbers from our local farmer friends here in the Southeast.
Okay, what was that, like August 3rd? I have to go back on the timeline. Actually, Ashley, could you check that for when we get back into the timeline? Because I might add that piece later. But when Charlie showed Bibi Netanyahu, Andrew told, allegedly,
1948.
Told his close orbit of family and friends back in Santa Barbara that he lost money. He lost millions when Charlie said no to taking Turning Point USA to the next level. We had wondered way back when. I said, how's that possible for a PR guy? You're a PR guy. How could you somehow be making money if Charlie said yes, but I was thinking Turning Point USA. I forgot, but Andrew is not just some PR guy. He has a stake in Charlie's media empire. So, was he plausibly referring to money which was going to be routed and offered via Clock Tower? Because we kept asking the other question, how was Bibi Netanyahu going to get all this money to Turning Point USA? But we kept thinking Turning Point USA. We weren't thinking about everything surrounding Turning Point USA. We weren't thinking about the fact that they have 501c4s and different structures and subsidiaries. Is this one of the ways? Because this is the Israeli Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Yeah, that would, you know who'd be in charge of that? Bibi Netanyahu. He's the Prime Minister of Israel. So it's an interesting question. I don't know. I just think it's worth asking. Now, another fun fact about Salem Media is that back in April of 2025, they announced a landmark deal with the president's son, Donald Trump Jr., someone who was like a brother to Charlie, someone that I have to say broke my heart with his almost non-reaction to Charlie's death, not fighting in the way that I thought he would fight, especially when they came out with this ridiculous 30-6 narrative. Don's a hunter. He knows what 30-6 can do, okay? He's not a fool. He can survive in the wilderness. His silence offended me, and it offended me because of how much I know Charlie loved him. Truly, Charlie loved Don. But yes, look at this announcement, this Salem announcement. This article tells us that Salem Media Group announces a landmark deal with Donald Trump Jr. and Lara Trump, it's Eric Trump's wife, signaling a bold new era in conservative media. Elsewhere in the article, it says, quote, pursuant to the deal, Salem acquired a 30% stake in M News, a mobile news aggregation app that was co-owned by Mr. Trump Jr., and entered into a long-term services agreement under which Mr. Trump Jr. and Salem will work together to develop a series of high-impact promotional and growth initiatives. With this historic deal, Mr. Trump Jr. becomes a key stakeholder of Salem and a strategic force behind its future. Okay. So we've kind of got everybody here at Salem Media. It's great. I love it. It's feeling great. Now we've got Josh Hammer, Don Jr.'s involved. We've got Brad Parscale, the Trump administration. And of course, we have Dylan Law Group. Now, in case you're thinking, hey, just to make sure things are above board, okay, since we know we've got like foreign influence going on here, foreign agents,
hey,
maybe the Department of Justice should just take a look into these foreign affairs, hey? Well, think again. Because actually, the first thing that Pam Bondi did on the very day that she was sworn into office as Trump's Attorney General, in the land before the fumbling of the Epstein files, which I would say was done on behalf of Israel, the fumbling, she said, my first act is going to be disbanding the FBI's Foreign Influence Task Force. I'm going to make sure it's next to impossible for DOJ prosecutors to criminally charge people who are doing PR work for foreign nations. I'm not kidding. She, as her first act, on her first day, disbanded this. If you're doing PR work for foreign nations, our DOJ is not going to come after you, thanks to Pam Bondi. Take a listen to Ian Carroll explain that on his show.
February 2025. In a move of profound significance, yet little known, this is a huge shout out to Gen X Girl. Don't know how she dug this one up. This one is super obscure and super significant. So February of this year, Pam Bondi, on her first day, disbands the Foreign Influence Task Force, the very DOJ office responsible for enforcing FARA, the Foreign Agents Registration Act. The change specifically limits DOJ prosecutors from criminally charging those involved in public relations work and policy advocacy on behalf of foreign businesses and nonprofits. This deliberate incapacitation of the enforcement mechanism gave a green light to foreign influence operatives, ensuring that the Knesset's 2018 plan to skirt FARA could proceed with minimal risk of prosecution, shifting resources in the National Security Division. To free resources to address more pressing priorities, and end risks of further weaponization and abuses of prosecutorial discretion, the Foreign Influence Task Force shall be disbanded. Recourse to criminal charges under the Foreign Agents Registration Act and 18 Code 951 shall be limited to instances of alleged conduct similar to more traditional espionage by foreign government actors. Like Jeffrey Epstein, maybe? Like Jeffrey Epstein? Like in theory, theoretically, just like as an example, Pam? With respect to FARA and 951, the Counterintelligence and Export Control Section, including the FARA unit, shall focus on civil enforcement, regulatory initiatives, and public guidance. So, no more FARA enforcement, unless it's like a legit spy. You're all good. You're free to go. There's no cop on the beat anymore.
Did you get it? Mark, we're barely making it this month. The car payment is late. The mortgage is due next week.
I know. I don't know what else to do. I'm trying everything.
No cop on the beat anymore. That's right. Basically what she says is, unless you're Jonathan Pollard and you're stealing documents and you're giving them to Israel, you're good. Yeah, you can trick the American people, geotag their phone, do whatever you want. We're not going to be looking too much into these influence things anymore. On her first day of work, why would she do that? Why less FARA enforcement? Why would that be a priority for her? Even if she did that later on, I'd be like, okay, that seems fine. Day one at the office, you shut down that department? Well, look, I think we have an answer at least, right? That might explain why Israel kind of seemed like they wanted to kill a president rather than register for FARA. Years later, suddenly are seemingly less concerned about registering for FARA, and now they're giving us show faith by works, and they're giving geotagged phones, and they're coming in here, and now we have Clock Tower X, and they're doing deals with Salem Media, okay? Trump's Department of Justice made it a safe space for Israel. Now, I'm assuming you probably need a timeline, because when you see it on a timeline, it just gets a little crazy, okay? This is 2025. It's a crazy year, okay? Let's take a look at it. January 10th, Brad Parscale, Trump's former campaign manager, becomes the Chief Strategy Officer for Salem Media Group. January 20th, Donald Trump is sworn in as POTUS. February 5th, Pam Bondi is sworn in as Attorney General. On the very same day, she disbands the FBI's Foreign Influence Task Force. April 7th, Harmeet Dillon is sworn into the Department of Justice as the Assistant Attorney General for Civil Rights. That's going to be a Dillon Media Law Group, right? April 14th, Donald Trump Jr. receives a major stake in Salem Media Group, and in tandem, Lara Trump enters into a strategic agreement with Salem Media Group. August 27th, Dillon Law Group begins drafting paperwork for Habas Media on behalf of Clock Tower X LLC and Show Faith by Works LLC to legally geofence and to spread propaganda on behalf of Israel. September 9th, Charlie sends a message declaring that he has left the pro-Israel cause due to their intense bullying and financial pressure. Afterward, he has a Zoom call with Josh Hammer, the rabbi from Israel. Sometime later that evening, a couple hours later, he's going to send messages declaring that an unknown they are going to kill him. On September 10th, Charlie Kirk is assassinated. On September 12th, Bibi Netanyahu declares that Israel did not kill Charlie Kirk. Oddly, nobody asked. On September 18th, Dylan Law Group officially registers their clients with FARA for geofencing and Israel propaganda. On September 21st, Charlie Kirk's memorial is geofenced. And on October 13th, the Josh Hammer Show joins the Salem Podcast Network through a new distribution partnership with Newsweek. It's a coincidence. It's all very interesting. Who now has that stake in the Charlie Kirk Show? What was that going to be an injection of cash, the Charlie Kirk Show? I guess you could say, yeah, maybe. You could literally say this was how Bibi Netanyahu was going to inject money. That literally makes sense. It is a very plausible theory that this is how he was going to legally do that via FARA, because they could, thanks to Pam Bondi. And here's a visual, by the way, for you guys. But some of you guys prefer to have visuals. You can see the State of Israel Ministry of Foreign Affairs. By the way, they refer to this as Project 545 because I believe that's how much money they put into it initially when they established this idea of propaganda. Project 545 was $545 million that they were going to spend. Havas Media, which was, I believe, founded in Germany or Paris. Founded in Paris, or maybe they're in Paris and Germany as well. In France, pardon. And so you have that, and that is how they do Show Faith by Works, Clock Tower X, LLC. You've got the Dylan Law Group, firm, which has been privately suing me for 2 years. I would say on behalf of Israel, but some would say that is a gratuitous understanding. And then, yeah, here you have it. You just have that breakdown. Show Faith by Works LLC is going to target the churches. They're going to target the schools. Clock Tower X is honest. We're a Salem Media Group. We're going to propagandize. Brad Parscale's with both Clock Tower X LLC and Salem. And here are just some of the people that are on that network now. Charlie Kirk Show, certainly I would not believe, is the most profitable show on Salem Media anymore. I don't think anybody's watching it. If they keep going, they're going to have the same ratings as the Josh Hammer Show. And yet I believe that Salem Media will stay afloat. I just have this deep sense that it doesn't really matter how many views Salem Media gets. They will probably keep being financed. Just a hunch that I have. Anyway, we'll take a brief break. We'll be back. All right, you guys, Mother's Day is one of the most beautiful times of the year to share life-changing news. Maybe you've seen that moment, a family gathered together when someone smiles and says, next year, we are going to have a brand new mom in the family. There's really nothing like it, but for some women, Mother's Day feels a lot different. Instead of celebrating, they're carrying a secret, feeling afraid, unsure, and completely alone. That's why preborn exists, because when a woman sees her baby on an ultrasound and hears that tiny heartbeat, it doubles the chance that she will choose life. This Mother's Day, you can make that moment possible for just $28. You'll provide one ultrasound, and $140 can reach 5 moms that are in need. Preborn doesn't just offer a moment, they offer a future. With real support like maternity care, baby clothes, diapers, and counseling, you give hope, you give life, and you can help a scared woman become a confident mom this Mother's Day. To donate, simply dial pound 250 and say the keyword baby. Again, that's pound 250 baby, or visit preborn.com/Candace. Again, that's preborn.com/Candace. I also want to tell you guys about the Wellness Company because Americans love sushi, and over the last 2 decades, raw fish consumption has exploded. Sushi bars are everywhere, grocery stores and gas stations, and millions of people now eat raw fish weekly. But there's a hidden risk most people never think about: parasites. Salmon is one of the most popular. Anyway, you guys, on to some happier news. A win, why we stay focused on the Charlie Kirk story. We have to celebrate today, as promised, that major win for truth. Many people, like I said at the top, wrongly assumed that this was just some Hollywood case regarding Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni, but it was not. Justice was served for Justin Baldoni. This was about power. This was quite literally about power, about people who are connected to A-listers and PR firms and have access to the government Quite literally, she even brought in a PR crisis firm that had a former CIA agent, then like left the CIA and opened a PR crisis firm. I mean, she took this far. It was basically like, I'm big, you're small, we're best friends with Taylor Swift. We are at the level now. We are at that level where we can do whatever the hell we want. And at its core, I very much subscribe to what Courtney Love told me, that there is like a gang operating in Hollywood and they just take publishing rights. And so if you own music, they can problematize you, saying you have a drug addiction, they'll put you on a Psych 5150 hold. If you own the rights to movies, they can problematize you, maybe with a little Me Too effort. I mean, I covered the Harvey Weinstein case. You can go back and watch that. That I think could have had something to do with publishing rights for sure. He had to end up selling his entire company. We can create a scandal and you will give me what you own, okay? And this case looked like that from the very beginning. I read it, she comes out, she says she was sexually harassed. She files this paperwork, but it's actually not really a court case. I don't think she ever wanted to go that far. She didn't expect the public, Blake Lively did not expect the public to read the documents. And when I read the documents, I went, this sounds weird to me. This, like, I'm looking and creating a character profile of Justin Baldoni in my mind, and it is not matching what she is saying happened in this filing, this like civil rights employee type filing that she initially did in California. And I then decided I'm going, you've got Taylor Swift around you. I feel like I've heard rumors you're very bratty. And we started following the case, and Brian Friedman, the lawyer, did the greatest thing you could possibly do. When he filed his response, he created an entire website and allowed us to read it, and my jaw hit the floor. My jaw hit the floor at how...
Why are you paying $80 for garbage internet?
This is Ryoko Pro. It's a pocket-sized Wi-Fi hotspot, about the size of a credit card stack that gives you your own private...
Unbelievably evil what they were doing to Justin Baldoni was. He acquired the rights to a movie illegally. Obviously, he cared very much about the book. He had wanted the movie to be perfect, this like feminist movie about domestic violence, and he cast her because she thought she would be perfect. And I bet he has one solitary regret. If he has one solitary regret in his life, it is casting Blake Lively in this movie, who I heard wasn't even good in this movie. And she just gave him hell and decided she wanted to try to get the rights and would have been successful were it not for us meddling kids. And we constantly covered it on this show. Shout out to Steph with the deets, all of the TikTokers, all of us that just stayed on top of it and realized we were watching evil. Her and Ryan Reynolds, her husband, had kind of climbed the ranks and had graduated to a class of Taylor Swift is our best friend, we will do as we please. So it arrived as a moment where we kind of knew we were at the end. On April 2nd, a judge dismissed 10 out of 13 of Blake Lively's allegations that she made against Justin. There was no way around it, in my view, even if they thought that they could get or use a corrupt judge. And I do believe that there are people that have this kind of power. They can manipulate judges. The public was paying too much attention. And there were only 3 accusations that they were down to. And it was an accusation of a breach of contract, retaliation, and aiding and abetting retaliation. Listening to Blake Lively's statement following this, remarkable loss, like 10 of your allegations have fallen off. 10 of your claims have fallen off, you've got 3 left. And she then issues a bizarre statement. I'm grateful for the court's ruling, which allows the heart of my case to be presented to a jury next month, and for the ability to finally tell my story at the full trial for my own sake, but also for those who don't have the same opportunity to, many of whom I have known and loved deeply in my life, and the countless that I will never know. The last thing I wanted in my life was a lawsuit, but I brought this case because of the pervasive retaliation I faced and continue to for privately and professionally asking for a safe working environment for myself and others. I hope the court's decision shows others that as unfathomably painful as it is, you can speak up. Don't be distracted by the digital soap opera. The constant packaging of this lawsuit as celebrity drama is not irresponsible. Not only irresponsible, but it is by design. Okay, I can't read the rest of it because it's so disgusting. If you were deep in the trenches of this case, you know how disgusting and how, it's wild. I love that it got community noted. I love that her statement got community noted, and they said Miss Lively is misleading the public and lying by omission with this truncated, cherry-picked snippets from Judge Lyman's dismissal of 10 out of her 13 claims. Context matters. Although Judge Lehman did not state Miss Lively was an independent contractor, and therefore she is not entitled under Title VII to bring claims, he continues to state that the conduct was not so far beyond what might reasonably be expected to take place between two characters. And so it was not a promising lawsuit for her. We knew eventually she would settle, and she did. And I just want to comment really quickly on the idea that she suffered retaliation. That was why we covered this, the retaliation, because she just thought, we have it in the bag, we will bully this guy out of Hollywood. Just to recap, the retaliation and bullying, because he held on to his movie and didn't give her the rights that Justin Baldoni suffered, were it not for us internet sleuths that picked this up, okay? The entire Deadpool movie, which featured A-lister Hugh Jackman and her husband Ryan Reynolds, they just developed a character to make fun of Justin Baldoni. Nice Pool, which featured a scene where they dramatically murdered and overkilled the character that was supposed to obviously be Justin Baldoni. Let's just remind ourselves by taking a look at this clip.
Hey, why are we stopping? Just because I'm paralyzed. We all have. Look at me, nice Pool.
And it just keeps going and going, and they just keep killing Nice Pool. And as you can see, Blake Lively is playing herself, Mrs. Pool, and it was completely manic. Even the deleted scenes of this movie were all about bullying Justin Baldoni. Take a look at this really quickly.
I'd be fighting alongside them, but my calling is to one day host a podcast that monetizes the women's movement.
Again, bringing in an A-lister, making fun of Justin Baldoni's podcast that he had where he talked about male feminism or feminism in general, more broadly speaking. The whole movie was just a catastrophe of jokes that nobody understood because he just wanted to torture Justin Baldoni. Even in the featured artwork for the book that they created to go along with the movie, they included this passive-aggressive passage and a description regarding Nice Pool, and it's just supposed to be about, of course, Justin Baldoni. Let us not forget that Ryan then jumped into Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni's movie, appearing to do a movie promo of It Ends With Us, but it wasn't actually a movie promo. It was actually more of an opportunity for him and his buddy Hugh Jackman, two A-listers, to make fun of Justin Baldoni even throughout his own movie promotion. It was totally and utterly sadistic. It makes me not like Hugh Jackman anymore. I don't like him at all following this, which sucks. But the fact that he partook in this, it was just deranged. And the end of that was Hugh Jackman arriving to the premiere of It Ends With Us. So this is literally Justin Baldoni's premiere, and they put Justin Baldoni in the basement of his own premiere. He had to watch it from the basement. Look at him sitting on top at whatever theater this is. They're sitting on Dasani water. It's not even good water. It's Dasani water. It's not even drinkable water. That's where he had to watch with his friends' family basement, because Blake Lively at that moment was saying she couldn't even be in the same room as him. She couldn't be in the same room. She needed to prove that she was, had hated him, and like there could have been something sexual that happened, and then we got to see the footage, and no such thing happened. She couldn't even be in the same theater, and this was his premiere. What would someone have to do to you that you literally could not even tolerate being in the same movie theater as them? Like they could be way in the front, way in the back. She said no. They enjoyed bullying him. The A-listers were upstairs. And it was too much of an emotional burden for them to allow him to enjoy his own movie premiere. It was disgusting. I don't know. I think he did actually end up in the hospital from all the stress of it. But this sort of evil is just not landing anymore. It's just, the world is awake to it. We're seeing how things operate. We're seeing how these people move like they're in a gang, like they are a part of some beehive getting ready to sting, looking for their next victim. And so this felt amazing to see that they have now settled the lawsuit. Of course, that's supposed to make everybody think they both won. This is not true. We all know Justin Baldoni won this lawsuit. He did. He won it in terms of PR. He would have won this literally. There was nothing left for her to win. Bizarre for her to assert that there was any retaliation. She probably knew she was not going to win and was advised that by her lawyers. Don't go through any more pain to lose. Just 2 weeks before the scheduled trial dates, they ended the legal disputes. She should have ended it much sooner, but she was completely delusional, high on power, high on Taylor Swift, and she lost both Taylor Swift and the respect of the public. And that is the perfect sentencing by the way, for a narcissist who thinks that power and money is what wins the game. Like, I just have the connections. It is reminiscent of, I feel like, the harassment that I have gone through privately with the Daily Wire throughout the court system, that now I'm actually kind of happy some of this is spilling into public, because it matters for the public to see it. It matters. This is why arbitration court, I think, should be illegal. I think it should be illegal. It allows abuses to take place that would not otherwise take place were things happening in the public. And I'm glad that this happened in the public. I'm happy my Brian Harpo case is happening in the public. I think, which I'll tell you more about that case tomorrow. It's an opportunity because when the public can see these things, they can actually understand how people are operating and see, power, perceived power, money, influence, A-listers, connections to the media, PR world, up against truth. And what this case proved was that truth wins. So congratulations, Justin Baldoni. Congratulations, Melissa Nathan. Congratulations, Brian Friedman. Congratulations to the TikTokers that did this thing. There were so many TikTokers. I feel like we should have a award ceremony where we just give ourselves awards for this one. We won. There's that. We'll be back after a brief break. All right, you guys, do you owe back taxes or have unfiled returns, or have you filed every year?
You've got to be kidding me. I just need one cold drink, that's it. Wait, what are you doing?
Relax. Tucker Carlson, because of what Andrew Colvett said to me. Owens. Okay, so a couple of things. I just randomly have something that came to my mind that has been bothering me for a long time that I just want to also share and get off my chest. The hospital, the day that I got a phone call from the hospital, and the day that my husband was called separately, he spoke to Justin Strife. I was speaking to Andrew Colvett. I was also, I told you guys, speaking to Tucker Carlson because of what Andrew Colvett said to me, and because I speak to Tucker Carlson. He's somebody that I look up to in media, and we were both so devastated about this. But we were told when Charlie was in the hospital that he had no neck left. This was a repeated thing that everybody was told. Like, Charlie, oh my God, he basically had no neck left. Oh my God, like they just blasted his neck off. He had no neck left. I know I was told that. I know that I spoke to Tucker about that on that day, and my husband was told that. And I just now am realizing how weird that is, because it was false. It was false. Charlie looked really good. He basically only had that entry point in the front, and the reason why it visually looked so terrible was because it hit that artery, which led to all the bleeding. But actually, Charlie looked really good, and his neck was completely fine. That's why it was open casket. Now that seems weird to me. It seems weird that was an intentional talking point that they were prepared to give, and I feel like it's because they were going to tell us that the 30-06 went through and completely destroyed his neck, and nobody would have known any different had it not been for Terrell Farnsworth. So Terrell Farnsworth is an unexpected hero in this story because he couldn't get his lies straight. There's also been a lot said about Mikey McCoy, and I want to address that as well. There have been people saying Mikey McCoy in all of this was the good guy for getting that message out to me, that one message out to me to look into Andrew Colvett. Now, here is what I will say about Mikey McCoy. I always knew and did not share and intentionally pushed on Mikey McCoy because I sensed right away that something was weird about all of the adjectives they kept giving him. The amazing Mikey McCoy, the stupendous Mikey McCoy. Mikey was amazing. Erica said that in her first speech. Mikey was so amazing, amazing. They couldn't say his name without an adjective, and what it sensed to me was that actually Mikey wasn't sure about what they had done. They were trying to constantly reassure him that it was okay. This is how I feel. This is my opinion. Allegedly. I feel that Mikey wasn't sure. They lied when they said Mikey flew into action and did all. That's not true. It's all not true. Nope. Mikey was an absolute mess at the hospital. Mikey did not suddenly see and call and direct things. I mean, we even know that. Justin Strife told me to my face he was the one that organized all the planes. So they had come up with this narrative that Mikey suddenly, under a rush of adrenaline, was like organizing everything, and he was just a soldier. That's not true. Mikey was a mess. According to my sources, Mikey was a mess at the hospital. And so what I think it is that they constantly said that because they perceived him as the weak link. They perceived him as being the only one who had a soul. And he should have had a soul because you know what, Mikey, if you're watching the show, Charlie loved you. And whatever it was, that little flutter that made you realize how wrong what you did was, go with that. I sense you're probably in some sort of a spiritual purgatory. They're telling you, offering you the world. I have, you know, it on good notice that you're talking about real estate deals and they're telling you money, 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 money. You can't take it with you when you go. Hell is real. Hell is real. And I don't know, I just feel like I have it on my heart to say that to you. Maybe that's why I woke up in a state of just feeling like a message needed to be delivered. But Mikey, you don't have to keep secrets for bad people. You don't. And I think that you were the only one who had a soul. Maybe you're scared. I don't know. Allegedly. This is my opinion, but I do want to say that to Mikey. Anyway, we can skip over to comments. I did want to tell you guys that, you know, Israel's upping their propaganda to about $1 billion, but don't worry. That includes bots, guys. They are, in fact, using bot campaigns. They use fake accounts. Their idea is to flood the zone in comment section, so be aware of that. They are playing mind games with you. They want your mind. They want to make you think that you're alone in your thoughts, and so they will execute 1,000 bots to a comment section. I observed this in Megyn Kelly's comment section on Instagram because I lived through it after I got fired from Daily Wire, and I found out that they were bots. And they were literally Israeli bot armies. They can also send 3,000 emails on a dime if you have an event. If you're hosting an event and you get tons of emails, if you have this person, they're Hitler, and it seems like they're all kind of saying the same thing, and I'm so-and-so, I live in Missouri with 2 kids, and you can't host, those are bots. They literally have companies, Israel has companies, that they can just send bots. They're playing psychology games now, okay? So, get tougher. Get tougher. Steel your mind for this. We're going to win. We're going to win in the end. I do want to issue one quick correction before we get into your comments. I said yesterday that Crane & Co., the sports company, was shut down at the Daily Wire as another indication. Actually, I learned thereafter that Crane & Co. actually opted to leave on their own, and now they are Crane & Co. So they...
Okay, y'all, I'm finna go to sleep. I'm hold on.
Left, probably saw the ship going down slowly, and made a decision to leave on their own. So I just always strive to be accurate. So I was incorrect when I said that yesterday. And they are now on 3 Media. Top comment from yesterday's episode, Missy P writes, "He who digs a pit for others will fall into it themselves." And I'm sure that is certainly about the Daily Wire. It is true. It is a proverb, actually, biblical proverb, I'm pretty sure. That's true. Next person writes, "Hating Theo Von is akin to hating a golden retriever. Only a depraved psychopath would hate a golden retriever." I have to say that really triggered me. The Theo Von thing, because he's just all heart. It's like, how could you hate Theo Von? He's all heart, and he's genuinely like that. He will sit down and speak to anybody. He loves everybody. And I couldn't tolerate that. I was like, you are just so miserable. You're so miserable that it's like you just see a golden retriever puppy and you want to kick it. But you know what? They kill a lot of kids and they don't feel anything either. They don't feel anything. They just go, I don't care. I don't care if it's a golden retriever puppy. I don't care if it's a child. I don't care if it's a mother screaming, aggrieved because her child has been killed. There's something missing there. And maybe it goes back to what Baron Coleman said at the top of today's episode. Getting to your comments for today's episode. By the way, guys, we did have the #1 day, our top sales, merchandising sales yesterday. So I was really excited about that we really just stuck it to them for calling for a boycott and saying, oh, why are you buying your stuff? Thank you. You guys made that possible. I love you guys. I just love that was what you hit them back with. People that said, I think I'm boycotting wrong. There were some Twitter users, I think I'm boycotting wrong. We're buying a merch. You guys are absolutely amazing. PM Ohio writes to Charlie, well done, good and faithful servant. You followed your Savior, Jesus Christ. Thank you. That was a massive donation. Yeah, he just did what he knew had to happen, I guess. But it still hurts. Flame of Love, Carmel writes, Psalm 90:12, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom. Charlie was counting his days and God gave him wisdom. Yeah, I can't even read these comments. They make me want to cry. It's just, I can't even think about it. Like, what was like the state of his mind. Jess Happy writes, I joined Daily Wire because I thought it was your company. I joined just to watch you. I got the Tumblr that said leftist tears. I chucked it and stopped my membership after they did you wrong. I wish I had the Tumblr so I could put Benny's tears on it. You're so sweet. Go Max. Yeah, we are definitely going to get some, we're going to do some Go Max hats. I told them it's just time to do it. It is time to, I just never wanted to join the brigade of people who were like, freedom t-shirts, here's where Charlie died in. But I feel like this is about the fight, that we are going to win. But guys, just so you know, we're going to win it. Thank you, Brian Harpole, for giving us an opportunity here. R. Cole writes, oh, look, another $100. Dang, how does this keep happening? Maybe Matthew 8:11, LOL, from Jesus' own words. I say to you, many will come from the east and the west and will